Hello and welcome to a truly special episode of the Offside Musings podcast. My name is OK Ndibe, and it's my delight to welcome all of you on behalf of my co-host, Emeka Onyagwa. I said that today's episode is special because we have a truly special guest. Rufai Oseni is a co-host of the most popular interview program on Nigerian television, the morning show on Arise Television. So we're not going to go into an elaborate introduction because Rufai is pretty well known throughout Nigeria and even beyond. And Rufai actually has a very, very tight schedule. So we have a short interview. So Rufai, you're welcome to the Offside Musings podcast.
Welcome.
Marga. So at first I'd like to say these two people were there and my Marga the bill. So forget all this English way they speak. But that's what they speak. So that's what the set up what they really I'll have done an extended session, but it's just we've just been in the middle of so much going on.
We understand.
Like I said, the governorship debates in Lagos is happening this evening in about an hour's time, 6 p.m. About.
Yes, yes.
So it's just been a
okay. No, we really understand.
But I really appreciate it, and I appreciate the honor. Thank you so much. I mean, I feel really very humbled to be in the midst of my class.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Rufai, for agreeing to spare a few minutes for us. So let's begin. You've become such an important and compelling figure in political and indeed social, cultural conversations in Nigeria. I want you to give me a quick sense of how you started on this road, because up until a few years ago when I happened to be in Nigeria and you and I was interviewed on your program, I actually hadn't figured out where you came from. You sort of seemed to emerge and seize the imaginations of Nigeria. Could you give us a quick sense of the trajectory of your rise?
All this big Oyinbo. I tell you, because I'm just like I tell you, I'm just Rufai. I don't see myself as anything. I don't give myself any adulation. A lot of people that know me, I've been in media for close to 20 years. I predominantly did radio in Lagos for about 10 years before I came on TV. So those that listen to probably the listening community in radio in Lagos will obviously know me. I had a very popular program on radio called Sharing Life Issues that I did. And it was just impacting life, hearing people's worries and issues and impacting them. Because I sort of like have a, ministry thing going on radio. And I had the most popular Sunday morning show, where I impacted life. So people that know me from the outside will tell you that I'm just a very passionate person. I like to impact lives. And the thing about me is I like very good arguments. I like logic in arguments. And since I was a child, I was always a very, a lot of people say Rufai sort of a rebel because I won arguments easily because I always held the side of logic. And for me, it was the strength of logic. But I saw that was what was missing in Nigeria. A lot of people were not logical in their arguments. There were a lot of sentiment-based arguments, and I didn't like that. And I wanted to make it. Prior to this time, I had done television in some capacity. I'd gone across board. I'd analyzed sports on Ogun television and done, a couple of television appearances here and there, But for me, I finally made that decision. And I said, what, I had it up to here because I saw what was happening on television and it wasn't engaging. I mean, when the logic and the arguments are not engaging enough, I like to get in there and see what I can do. So I started off by doing a political show on a TV station owned by a friend of mine, Rave TV. My dear sister, Agatha, and my big sister, Agatha, Amata. And afterwards, there was an opening on Arise. Then Arise wasn't even known. It was a fledgling station, but it wasn't known. So I took the plunge and I went there and I did the interview. And I remember, because I look very unassuming. So I have this, boyish look, and you look and say, who's this one? Does he think it's a child's play like Chucky Hopscotch or something? Then I remember my interview I keep saying my interview was one of the hardest because it was foreign policy interrogation, and who interviewed me was the MD of Arise then, which, finally became a very instrumental person in my life, which I adore so much, Madam Ijoma Ogogo. And I remember then we had a robust debate on Jamal Khashoggi. Khashoggi had just died then. So we had a robust debate of the, foreign policy implication of Khashoggi, and we talked about, the economy and all of that. And she was really taken aback that who the heck is this guy? That could pretty much hold a conversation on Khashoggi. He knows a little bit about law and all of that. And for me, in the bit of making good logical arguments, research comes to me easily. So I'm one of those very weird people that, like, people have drinks with their friends for fun and hobby. For me, I read for hobby. I can be in the middle of the night reading For the Life of Me, Paul Collier.
Oh my gosh!
So my friends say I'm so weird that I'm that kind of guy that can read a Thomas Piketty on the beach. And for me, it comes to me naturally. Yes. So I'm that very weird kind of guy that I'm traveling. People are jamming to music, but I'm traveling, doing a long trip, and I'm playing The Economist audio on repeat. Wow. So for me, numbers, data, the quest for knowledge, just comes to me very easily. And I just love the engagements. And one of my motivating factors, I think, is the words of Mark Twain that says, too many books, so little time. And the fact, it hurts me so much that even if I live 100 years, I'll never have a time to be able to read all the books on earth. So I'm like, why does this guy just get...
you won't read all the books on earth even if you live 20,000 years.
So that hurts me. So I feel disadvantaged already. That, there are so many things that I'd love to learn. So, and those were the arguments too my boss then made, Madam Jamal, that if I put this guy on television, he'll set something alight on television. Then I remember I got in, I'll never forget the day, 5th of May, 2019. That was my first day on television. I remember the day like yesterday. I got on the air, I was giving my own show. It was a morning show. My first guest was Senator Ben Murray Bruce. And we got ready to rumble. And I remember after the show, after the taping, after going live on air, they kept on saying, Rufai, you've got something. And we kept on growing since then. And we kept on making the arguments. And so for me, it's just the strength of the arguments. And that's all. And if people listen across even my radio days, it's just the strength of the argument for me. If you can give me a good logic that knocks me off my feet, yes, I want to learn. But if you can't give me that logic, I will challenge it till the kingdom come. So that's what politicians don't like, when I challenge the logic. I'm like, give me a good logic, wow me. And because they fail to realize that half the time I want to learn from them themselves. They think, oh, it's an inquisition. I'm like, no, it's not. I've got nothing against you. I'm just that kind of guy that salivates for knowledge. And, I'm that kind of guy that buys a new book and gets excited on a Friday night. I'm going home to read this book. So it's,
oh my gosh,
it's the weirdness in me sometimes. People say it's very weird.
As an author, yes, as an author, it's such a delight to hear somebody so passionate about reading. So when next I'm in Nigeria, I'll be sure to get you a set of all my books.
Thank you so much. That would be the best. Thank you so much. I mean, those are the best gifts I get. A lot of people don't know.
Yes.
A lot of books, and I collect quite a fair bit of arts. So those are the things that excite me. So books and arts and flowers, those are the things that excite me. But and that's why people say, Rufai, you're very weird. I mean,
so I would like to know something, right? Because you seem to always come across as a fair person on TV, on any media, generally, when one encounters you. And I would assume that you get quite a bit of backlash. There's a story I was talking about yesterday night about it seems to be more like you are likely to get a lot of backlash.
Yes.
So how do you manage with that level of backlash overall?
Mm-hmm. So you see, the thing about me, and I owe this to my parents. I lost my dad last year. It was the love of my life. I lost my mom many, many years ago, over 20 years ago. She was my queen and the love of my life. The thing about me is that I had both parents that truly loved me. And I was the center of their world. So I had a base point for love. And
were you an only child?
Yeah. So my both parents had other children, but I'm the only child they had between themselves. So I'm the only child my mom had for my family.
Okay.
But they both have, other children. I've got other siblings, but half brothers. So that brought me up in such a way that I'm not somebody that is so insecure that external validation really makes him have a good day. I'm not that person. I'm very resolute. I'm a very stoical person. As long as the convictions of my argument and my logic is right, if you abuse me from today till thy kingdom come, I see your abuse as a weak logic.
Yes.
So that's why I am the most abused person today on social media, journalist. But I laugh. Funny enough, I read all the abuses. But I see it as weak logic. And I laugh at it. And I laugh at the abuses rained at me. Because I don't see logic in it. You're stupid is not logical. The question is, why am I stupid? For providing a superior a priori, a superior logic? Is that why I'm stupid? And you cannot contravene my logic? And the next thing you say, I'm stupid? Then that's a weak logic.
Yeah.
So the joke is on you. Keep fooling yourself.
Yeah.
So as long as I have a strength of conviction that I have the superior argument, and I tell people, if you have the better argument, I will be the first person to concede to you and say, you've got the better argument here. But as long as my argument is good and you abuse me, in fact, I look and say, maybe you are the one that is sick. So it doesn't hurt me. I don't react. That's why you see I get tons of abuse. Okay, so something happened yesterday. I was trending yesterday. All I did was I was researching. Like I said, I love to research. I love data. I love documents. And I stumbled on the 2006 Lagos Megacity Plan by the federal government, Olusegun Obasanjo. And I posted that on my Instagram and Twitter. And people were arguing with me and abusing me and saying, who the heck are you? You want to bring our candidate? I said, what concerns me and your candidates? All I posted was the logical plan. Then they started to say, should be the plan never materialized. I'm not concerned about if the plan materialized. But the question was there a plan or not?
Yes.
So they abused the hell out of me, cursed the hell out of me, and I kept on looking. I said, weak logic. So I laugh. So I joined them in the joke because it's not on me. But not a lot of people can have that mindset. And that's why I owe it back to my parents, because I was loved dearly. I was never found wanting, needing love as a child, because I see a lot of people abuse me and they say, you are a sadist. Trust me, the kind of childhood I had, the kind of love I had, not too many people have that privilege in their lifetime. I was dearly loved. I was the center of my father's world. I was the center of my mother's world. And that constantly became the order of the day. So when the logic is weak, I just look at them. But some get to me emotionally. Like one thing they did that really hurt me, because my father is the love of my life. I had a day of tribute for my father, 15th of October last year. And it was a very solemn occasion for me. Everybody that was there, when I was giving my speech, they could feel the emotion. And people from a certain political party, God sees my heart. I didn't know Peter Obi was coming. In fact, my friend and my colleague, I just told another friend of mine, Adi Feko, to accompany my colleague Tundu, because Tundu came early and Tundu was leaving. Then all of a sudden, I was going to the stage to tell the MC something, and I saw Adi Feko coming back, and I was like, why is Adi coming back in? Then all of a sudden I saw Peter Obi walking with him. Jandor came in with the Lagos State Commissioner of Information too was there. Other politicians were there. Then they took a picture of me, Peter Obi, and Jandor and said it was the Labour Party conference. And I look and I said, what's the logic? It was my father's day of tribute, and you have no rights to interfere. That was my solemn payoff to my father. And it was a day of culture, art, because these are the things my father loved. My father loved books. My father loved art. My father loved culture. My father loved the good play. So it's when you go to people that are dear to me that it hurts me. But for me, abuse me till thy kingdom come. If your logic is not strong enough, it's weak logic. So that's why I laugh. It's weak logic. Absolutely. I want a better logic. If you are to give me a logic, then I respond. That's why when I see tons of abusive messages on social media, as I just look at them as well, this logic is not worth my time. No, it's weak logic. This is not engaging. And me, I want to learn. You're not teaching me anything. So that's how I deal with them. Weak logic,
Yes. Talking about this desire to learn on your part, I sort of, I'm actually quite moved when I see you interview people. It's both fair and fearless in your approach. And particularly, I was just watching a couple of days ago, your interview with Naja'atu Mohammed, who recently quit Tinubu's campaign. And the pointed questions that you posed to her struck me as the model that Nigerian journalists ought to follow, rather than being unduly deferential. You challenged her, but not in a way that was offensive, right? Can you speak to that mode of questioning? Because I've seen you do it with other political figures and indeed social figures in your interview. The way in which you are not afraid to bring up, to ask people hard questions rather than just assume that you are there to give them a forum to tell whatever story they wanted to tell.
So the thing about me, again, goes back to the argument. So, and for the life of me, I'm a very argument and logic-based person. Even my friends know it. I mean, I just authored a book with some of my close friends. It's called Nigerian Self-Organizing People, which is my 6th or 7th. And the book started off from a night of dinner, because my very good friend, the chief economist of PwC in Nigeria, Andrew Nevin, his wife is Indian, so she makes very good Indian food. And we have good Indian dinner sometimes. And the book started because of the arguments we're having on the dinner table. And that's just to show you that even if I'm letting my hair down, I still want to learn something. And it permeates into my question. The subtext in my mind is, what is the best logical question or output I can have at part-time? So it's logic that dominates my inquisition, because I want to iterate a level of knowledge. I want to iterate that level of knowledge. I want to expand. And the supporting questions is for me to be able to double up on the person's logic and see how I can stretch it further. And 3 things that'll do. When people don't feel comfortable with their logic, then they start to throw up fallacy of hasty generalizations. They start to throw up fallacies and inaccuracies, which gives me a vantage point to fact check and try to take them back to the a priori. So Naja'atu Mohammed, for instance, you said you left the APC a couple of weeks to the elections. But you had benefited all this while, because the common logic is you can't say you're a politician without benefiting anything. That's why I kept on asking, what took you so long, madam? So now you're trying to act like some Jesus of suburbia now, isn't it? You're trying to call other people bad, but you were there for the long haul. And when I asked her that question, she started to put herself out. Oh, I was in police service commission. I didn't get anything and everything. That gave me logic to expound on. Because if I drill down, it's a fallacy. Nobody does politics for charity in Nigeria. That could be a fallacy of hasty generalization, but pervasively, it's always the case. Just like the other man I asked a question on the Bullion ban. That said, Bullion ban, you know. For me, it was based on the logic of, selling his candidate as all things bright and beautiful. And I said, okay, you know what? There's a Bullion ban that came. And when I pushed further that train of logic, then he put forward a very faulty a priori by saying that Bullion ban missed the road. Then guess what I did? Guess what I did?
Yeah.
I let him be. I let him go on with the a priori, with the fallacies. And that's why he kept on making statements like, some banks pay a lot of people and they have to get a lot of cash. I mean, some companies.
Yes.
Then I let him continue. Then I just put in a level of logic to challenge his initial a priori that I know was faulty. By saying that for Tinubu in 2019, there's a newspaper article that says Tinubu in 2019 himself said, no, that it's my money. What can you do about it? Then he went ahead to be able to defend his faulty a priori by reconfirming his faulty logic. Then he nailed himself. So it wasn't me.
Sorry, continue.
It was just my logic, sir. So,
I wanted to ask, we know, Nigeria, we have a convention. And to cut to the chase, the Brown Envelope Convention. You find a way of
white envelopes and red envelopes come into play now. So it doesn't have to be brown,
The Envelope Convention to make sure you don't ask these kind of questions. You don't go down these roads to allow, and it's been there a long time, long before, probably even long before you even came into office, when someone like was into being an anchor. How do you navigate it? What's your moral compass? How do you what's your navigation? How would you say it? How do you resist? What do you do about it? What's your stand?
My stand is pure and simple. The information that millions of people need to have trumps any capacity for any inducement. Don't tell me because of inducements or because of any other encumbrance around that, I should not ask my question. It's best you keep your inducements to yourself. And that's just me. It's best you keep your inducements to yourself. A fair amount of these politicians know it has gotten to a point where they ask, is Rufai on air before they come? Look at it now. If I'm not on air, they can come. But know that I will give you a very good challenge. Because for me, it's the strength of the logic. Before I came on Nigerian TV was boring. I couldn't watch it. If I stop being on TV today, it will be on record that we have raised the standards. Today, people are having logical conversations. It wasn't the norm before the morning show came. It wasn't watchable. It used to hurt me so bad. They say, can't you be like BBC? But I thank God they don't say that again. And all this conversation I'm pushing has increased the respect and profile for Nigerian journalists. They don't say that any longer. Because this was the same thing they used to go and watch on Stephen Saka Hard Talk. And my argument has always been, if you as a politician can subject yourself to Stephen Saka in England, why can't you subject yourself to me here? Not that I'm a standard of so many sorts, but we have to have the logical conversations. So my charge is come prepared. Come prepared, get your facts right. If you don't get it right, I will fact check you. Like one party spokesperson said the other day, I was even in Abidjan, I wasn't in Lagos. I was in Abidjan when he said the inflation rate went up to 28% in Obasanjo's regime. Immediately, I went to Twitter and I fact-checked. And I called him and I said, "Oh, God, challenge me." I didn't even need to check the data, because I know the variation. And that's why over 21% is 18-year high, 17-year high now of inflation in Nigeria. So probably the last time inflation surged, maybe the military transiting into here. The worst days of inflation were 94, 95, when we had over 50, 60% during Abacha days. So I know those data. So if you want to come to talk to me about it, you need to know it too. The day of faulty arguments, I think for me, is long gone. I think the people deserve a better chance to know.
So talking of which, there was this great brouhaha when Tinubu refused to show up for any presidential debate, and he said he was too busy taking his case directly to Nigerians, and he went to London and did his question distribution and so on. What do you make of the current dynamics of presidential campaigns in Nigeria and the way that some candidates have conducted themselves? And I'm speaking particularly of Tinubu and his refusal to engage in a political debate.
My reaction to that was clear online. Anybody that doesn't have the respect enough to engage Nigerians in a debate will not respect the electorate, pure and simple. See, electoral debates are like courtship. You are going to woo a woman. You buy her flowers. You must attend every dinner date. You must not keep her waiting at the dinner dates. You must be there. You are wooing her. You are showing you are ready. So when somebody does not attend a debate or a town hall, it's just like not attending a dinner date. You keep telling this woman you love her, you want her in your life, you want to spend the rest of your life with her. Then she says, okay, for the life of me, let me even know who you are as a person. Let's talk. Come for dinner. You miss the first dinner date. You give a flimsy excuse. You miss the second dinner date. Another excuse. You miss the third. Another excuse. For the life of me, the woman, you say, you're not ready to date me. That's the way it is when people don't attend to us. And come to think of it, you now go to attend another dinner date with another woman somewhere else. And I get to hear about it. How do you expect me to feel? Me, here's the Nigerian people. The other woman I talked about is Chatham House.
That's true.
So it's reflective. And like I said, for every candidate that never attended debates, it speaks volumes about them.
Yes.
Because people must debate. And this one is not anything. It's just straight talk. It speaks volumes now.
Yes.
I mean, you can't say you love me and you don't spend time with me. And how does a politician that loves the people spend time with them? By appearing on TV, being scrutinized for the people. So even if it makes you look somehow, appear. Answer the tough questions. And when they ask you the tough questions, simply say, I don't have answers to them. I don't know why it's such a big deal for people to say I don't have answers to them. Or attempt. See, when you write WAEC, they say attempt. Attempt all questions.
A certain number of questions.
They're not saying answer them correctly. They say attempt all questions.
Yes, attempt. Yes.
At least attempt them. And the ones you can attempt completely, I don't know. But it goes back to a society where a lot of people don't want to fail. They don't want to look bad. No. People that look bad yesterday will look bad, will look good someday if they improve upon themselves.
Someday. Yes. Okay. So I know, I'm looking at the time and I know you have a very short time.
Yeah, I can give an extension of
today.
10 minutes. I just had to text people and say,
Lovely. So we're officially under a month to the 2023 elections. So I'd like you to speak about what you are reading of the state of preparedness, because I was speaking just a few days ago to a friend of mine who happens to be a pastor in Abuja, and he says to me, there will be no elections. And then I spoke to a politician friend of mine in London, and I said to him, this is what somebody in Abuja told me. And he said, I won't be surprised if there are no elections. So are you getting any of that vibe? And is there a possibility of Nigeria not holding the elections?
I'm not getting any of the vibe. The elections will go ahead. There have been challenges with collection of PVC, but only today INEC extended the timeline for the collection, which has always been the refrain of a lot of people. And I hope they are going to fix the logistical encumbrances. But apart from that, I think everybody's pumped up for the election. I think the country is too volatile to be able to now say we don't have elections. I think to a great deal, President Muhammadu Buhari is committed to this. And in all kudos to him, he showed the first commitment by signing the electoral laws. But one step further, I would say, is a lot of people have concern about the judiciary. And I'm sure you saw the judgment passed recently as regards Oseni. People are trying to look at the logic really behind it. That has always been the concern of a lot of people. But apart from that, the candidates are campaigning top gear. In all fairness to Tinubu has been campaigning like his life depends on it. And kudos to him. He's been a great warrior on the campaign trail. Peter Obi has been campaigning, Atiku has been campaigning, Kwankwaso has been campaigning. All the guys are out there, boots on ground. So I think they're pumped up for the elections. They're covering ground and all of that. I think we should need to be optimistic. But people that say, I don't think election would hold. Anyway, every election cycle, everybody always puts across that theory that election will not hold. It's not today I've been hearing it on election cycle. I think we need to be
to add to that question, though. Sorry, to cut you. I want to add to that question so you can continue answering it. It's how fair do you think the process is likely to end up being?
Largely, I think the process will be fair because of beavers. But I'm also scared of manipulation, probably, of ad hoc staff. But INEC has given reassurances. I was in Abidjan when I heard the Chatham House speech of the INEC chairman, which was very reassuring. He too has been in the eye of the storm. He's been blackmailed. There's been petitions for him to get out because of the transparency of the process. But I think my greatest fear still will be the judiciary. It is so sad that in Nigeria, justice goes to the highest bidder. And I think apart from the challenges here and there, I think the judiciary should step up its game. And I think errant judges should be dealt with decisively and disciplined. They've always caused a lot of chaos. And it's so sad that few people can just do this. Sometimes you wonder the logic. Imo is a case study. So you saw how Imo went overboard. Imo used to be one of the most peaceful states. Correct me if I'm wrong. Southeast. At a point. But you can see what happened in Imo since that judgment.
The Supreme Court.
You can see what happened in Imo. Imo never remained the same. And my heart bleeds for Imo.
Yes.
So apart from, the challenges with INEC and all of that, worst comes to worst, it always goes to the judiciary. I'm scared of the judiciary. But I hope they get their acts together.
Let me ask you a question about the redesign of the Nigerian currency. There's a lot of frustration because people are saying, A, they have little access to the new designed currency, right? But some people are also speculating that there is some method to that seeming chaos, that what is done is to deprive some politicians who were hoping to buy votes and to buy basically election officials, to deprive them of liquidity. How do you see the redesign affecting, or do you see any way in which it's shaping the political race?
So the policy, and it goes back to my logic again, the policy is a very circumspect one. Mm-hmm. In the early days of the policy, I challenged a lot of things about the policy, and my predictions were right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I talked about the fact that it was going to lead to people converting money to USD and all of that. And in the short term, there was going to be a spike in dollar rates. There was a spike in dollar rates. But the authorities nipped that in the bud by raiding the Bureau de Change. Mm-hmm. But the second argument of the policy is this. We are suffering because there's a lot of liquidity in the hands of people. And I've had to interview the CBN officials a couple of times. And the argument is, when they put monetary policy mechanisms in to tighten, you can't really tighten because the bulk of the circulation of cash is in the hands of people. Mm-hmm. 3.2 trillion. And you know what that does? That has effects on Forex. It has effect on money management. It has effect on inflation. Mm-hmm. So the redesign is a way to be able to curb out that cash, put the money back into banking system, be able to regulate a new set of money velocity across the three currencies, across the three 200, 500, 1,000 naira. Mm-hmm. By so doing, to be able to tame inflation, which is galloping, which National Bureau of Statistics reports that is over 21%, but some people are saying real inflation is about 50%.
Yeah.
So which is to arrest that, while the government now does the hard side of the fiscal work by solving the legacy issues, tackling insecurity that makes it difficult to farm, for farmers to farm, to be able to stem the tide of food inflation, and some other encumbrances that lead to inflation in the system. Mm-hmm. Also, the fact that we've had massive explosions. Part of them are the ways and means, which has set us back 22 trillion, which the government now is trying to break the CBN Act by securitizing. So that's why the policy comes in handy. And that's the logical argument behind it. Apart from the fact that, yes, it's going to take the oomph, or it's going to steal the thunder of politicians to election buy and vote buy, it is also going to help stem the tide of inflation. According to the CBN Act, it's a 3-month window. But I know the fire brigade approach of a lot of Nigerians, and truly, let's not forget, it's a big country, so it takes a lot of time for things to spread around. Largely also rural. There are all those itinerant challenges, and hence the extension, so that people can bring their money into the fold. But it's a policy that must go on, because you see, the same people that are saying extend the time and all of that because of political exigencies, they forget that the same poor people that you are trying to fight for are already paying tax on the poor. You know the greatest tax the poor people pay? Inflation.
Inflation, yeah.
The poor people are already paying tax on inflation. And it's already killing the economy. The time value of money is being ripped off because of inflation. So when you have all of that challenges there, how do you create buffers? It's by this policy. And I think there's nothing wrong with this policy. The logical check is, did he do it in line with the CBN Act? Yes. Did he give ample timeline? Yes. Did a couple of other people drop the ball? Yes. Like in all of this, the other day on TV, I called that the National Orientation Agency. How many ads have you seen the National Orientation Agency buy? How many sponsored posts have you seen them do on Twitter? In fact, when I went to check their Twitter page, they only retweet the CBN tweets. And I'm sure they get their own budgets too. So this extension is to bring people, but there should be no going back on the policy because we're already paying the taxes on inflation, which is a hard deal for a lot of people. And the challenges and the itinerant challenges are so obvious. Inflation is killing in Nigeria. The price of things are going up by the day.
Yeah.
And these politicians already are conniving with the banks because the big man mentality to still take the little they can take from the banking system. But the joker is this. The currency will still be controlled because the CBN knows the amount of currency is put in circulation. Now it can control the currency. Formerly, it couldn't control the currency because the money wasn't coming back to him. There was no velocity of money. You saw the money they brought out of people's homes. Some of them dirty, some of them rotten and all of that. And that's why when the National Assembly asked the deputy governor of the CBN that she should tell her how much was printed, obviously they can't give you such an information. They are trying to control the currency at this point in time. Because it is the politicians that have started this problem. How did dollar go up? It was after the party primaries, dollar went up. Because those guys mopped up all the foreign currencies. So the politicians are largely the problem. And that's why you see that, because it doesn't favor them, they've been harassing the CBN governor, running around for his life. There are some other things that they are doing to the man in the background that if he comes to the media and says this, it's going to be sensational. But we can't afford to do all of that. And there have been calls for Emefiele. We can't afford to do all of that because the country, as we speak, is bleeding. Only yesterday, Moody's downgraded our credit ratings to C with a stable outlook from B to C now. This is one of the worst credit ratings in over 15 years we've had as a country.
That's right.
So these are the problems, and that's how, at least let's do the internal work to be able to fight the level of inflation and bring some sanity to the system. The next argument a lot of people make is this. In the UK, they have 2-3 years to do it. The first argument I make is let's stop making stupid arguments. In the UK, can you have £10,000 cash in your hands? Anytime I go to the UK and I change money from Nigeria and I spend £50, they laugh at me because they know obviously this is not obtainable. So in the UK where you can't spend only £50, but in Nigeria here, people have 500 million naira cash in their homes. And they are comparing that here in the UK. Did people keep money in the UK in their homes like money? And you see, when people make this argument and they are not logical, and when you make the logical argument, this guy is arrogant, he's a bastard, he's so professional.
Yes. Oh my God! You have the last question.
Okay, so to end on a lighter note, as we exit, hopefully we'll have you back soon. I want to know what you would say are your top 3 books, top 3 songs, and maybe your
top 3 movies.
Top 3 movies. Yes, there we go.
Top 3 books. God. Because I do love a lot of books. I do love a lot of books. I mean, I don't even know where to start first, So, okay, so I can't say best books.
You can say best authors if you want.
I can't say best books because so what I'll tell you will be around. So I've been reading an exciting book lately. It's called The Chip Wars, written by Chris Miller. It's about how developing nations are fighting the chip war, semiconductor wars. It's a very good read, and I think anybody that wants to be president of Nigeria should read that book. You even know what is even,
Good luck. Good luck with that.
You don't know what's happening. I've been able to meet I've had the pleasure of sitting once in a lecture by Professor Neil Ferguson. I love Neil Ferguson a lot. I done most of his titles, and I've also had the pleasure of listening to Hernando de Soto, Mystery of Capital, which is a very interesting book on how capital changes the prospect of people. Then for literature, I mean, I I like a lot of literature books. Where do I even start from? You can do the normal Shakespearean thing. I like a lot of Mongobetti. Mongobetti wrote Mission to Kala, Mission Termine. I like a lot of that. I like a lot of Chimamanda. Love a lot of Ben Okri. Love a lot of Amos Tutola. And so I'm very eclectic with taste. Love a lot of poetry, actually. I love a lot of Tigor. I read a lot of Tigor. And I like to dabble into, books of thoughts. I read the Dhammapada a lot. It gives me perspective. And I read the Bhagavad Gita, the English version, because it gives me a lot of perspective. And it encourages me on the need to struggle for your convictions. Because it was a conversation with Krishna and all of that, It's the book of the, obviously the book of the Indus, But these are the things when you read here, people say you're mad, you're crazy. Songs, I'm a huge U2 fan. One of my greatest wishes is to meet Bono. So, Walk On, How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. Most of the albums of U2 will probably resonate with me. A little bit of Coldplay. Then, because I'm very eclectic with taste, then I love tons and tons of Yoruba folk music, Ayinla Omowura, Wasiu Ayinde Marshal. I love Wasiu Ayinde Marshal a lot, Oh, yeah, I even quote him on TV. Oh, yeah. Then I love Ogunta. Ogunta is an Urhobo folk musician. I can't hear a word of what he says, but the synchronization really makes me happy. I love a lot of Osadebe. Then I love a lot of folk music. So I'm very rare with songs. The things that'll catch me are things like, Okwani folk music, Dan Mariah, latent Hausa folk music, indie artists and things like that. The normal guys, I'm very eclectic. Salif Keita, Baba Mal. So I'm very broad with music, and obviously I love my classical songs, love my Edgar, love my Henry Purcell, love a lot of the composers. And but one song I always like to jam to, because it just talks to me, and I'm sure all of you like it too. Bess Lohman, Everybody Wears Sunscreen. That's a timeless song. Bess Lohman is quite timeless. I think the words are very powerful. Movies. Yeah, I love a lot of movies too. I take out the time to watch movies. At some point, I'll be making movies myself. I'm a huge fan of 007 because it gets me thinking. I read most of Ian Fleming's books and read Sebastian Falk when he started writing for the 007 series, Devil May Care. Love a lot of 007 movies. Forrest Gump, it's a classic. Life is like a box of chocolates, I love a lot of old Herbert Ogunde's movies if I get a chance to watch them, because sort of like an evolution. And I love 1920s, 1930s movies. Sometimes I feel like I lived in the 1800s before, so I love timepieces. So I'm very eclectic with taste. So I don't have like best and everything. So there's a big variation with taste.
True Renaissance man.
Yes, what a delight!
And I love flowers.
Yes.
Flowers really. So a lot of people.
That is interesting.
Really tease me. Why the heck do you like flowers? I'm like, I like beauty.
Are you a woman? They would say.
No, I'm not a woman, but I just like beauty. I like nature. I like life. And flower is an outgrowth of nature and life and the variation of life itself.
Yes.
I mean, so I'm that guy that feels very tired about something, just goes to buy a bouquet of flowers and puts them in my pot, put some water, and then just watching them.
Yes. Wow. Thank you very, very
so
much, Rufai. You have been, you've been very, very kind and generous, and it's such an excitement to have you as a guest. Thank you, and have a brilliant week.
Really appreciate it.
Bless you, my guys. I bet we'll still do more. Not be all this English we speak today as well.
I look forward. I look forward to hearing you on the debate. So the questions you're going to get.
I'm just going to be studying back end and sending questions to possible people that would ask them. So,
wonderful!
That's wonderful. Time,
Take care, man. Djokovic won today. I'm a huge fan.
I said it. I kept on saying it to my colleagues on TV. That one thing you can't take out of Djokovic is the spirit. And he will prove a point, despite the fact that he was injured, he was limping. He was going to prove a point. And I tell people, never you undermine the spirit of a man. I also made reference to Andemori. When Andemori had that surgery, they thought it was all over. But look at the rally Andemori played recently on the Australian Open.
Oh my gosh.
Never you undermine the spirit of man. See, it is so important that even God appreciates the can-do spirit of man.
Absolutely.
And that's one thing he can't tamper with. And that's why he didn't make us humanoids that he puts in structure in our head. He gives us the free will to make our decision. But when we follow a path with our strong convictions, anything can happen. So I'm not surprised Djokovic won. I'll have been more surprised if he didn't win. But with that spirit, I knew I was going to prove a point. Even with all the attacks on him, that his father carried a Russian flag.
With his father, oh my gosh, that was terrible. It's like they threw the kitchen sink at the guy.
But you see, courage is never the absence of fear. It is doing it in spite of the fear you feel. And that's what Djokovic proved. So injury or no injury, I'm not surprised.
That's right.
It is well. Just like I'm convinced that Arsenal will win the league this year. I don't know. I'm a Chelsea fan. I don't
know. And some people are convinced that somebody is going to win the Nigerian election this year. All right, my brother. Take care and have a brilliant week.
All right.
Okay then.
Yeah.
Bye now.
All right.